Hey there, and welcome to an ESO build guide. I'm Dying Legacy, and this is the updated Crimson Veil build for the Firesong patch, a Magicka Nightblade for solo content. Nightblades as a class come with great healing and great damage output, helping us take on veteran dungeons and arenas without a care in the world. This is a quick build guide. We'll be going over the race, attributes, Munderstones, food, potions, gear, skills, passives, and champion point startables. The info will be minimal, so I'll only be going over what's necessary. However, do feel free to comment below if you have any suggestions or if there's anything I could do better. And why not subscribe to keep up to date with the channel? With the intro covered, let's go over the Crimson Veil build. Starting with the race, it doesn't really matter what you use, play how you like. It's your adventure and your story after all, but if you're looking for suggestions, I'd recommend either the Breton if you're looking for more sustain, the Khajiit for extra critical damage, or a High Elf for extra spell damage. For the attributes, we're putting 64 points into Magicka, and for our Munderstones, when we're doing solo content, we're taking the Lover Munderstone for extra spell and physical penetration. When doing content as part of a group, we'll be taking the Thief Munderstone for extra critical rating. For our food, we're taking the Clockwork Citrus Fillet to increase our health recovery, max Magicka, and Magicka recovery. You can pick these up at a guild vendor or make it yourself at a cooking station if you have the recipe. This can be rather expensive to get your hands on though, in which case the cheaper option is the Witch Mother's Potent Brew. The stats are slightly lower and it doesn't give health recovery, but it's a very small difference and it doesn't matter which one you use overall. For our potions, we're using the Essence of Spell Power, which grants us Major Sorcery, Major Prophecy, Major Intellect, and restores some Magicka immediately. We'll be using these for those longer and tougher fights. We can grab these at a guild vendor or make them ourselves at an alchemy station. If you haven't got any on you at the time, you can always pop an Essence of Magicka instead. They will give us Major Intellect and restore some Magicka immediately. They may not be as useful as Spell Power potions, but they are better than nothing, and they do happen to drop from almost every enemy in the game. Moving on to the gear now, we have the option to use a Maelstrom Inferno Staff and Payloader Ring on this build. They aren't necessary by any means, and we have options in their stead, which we'll go over first. We are using 6 light armor pieces and 1 medium armor piece on this build, all with the Divine's trait and a Magicka enchant. For the jewellery, we're using the Bloodthirsty trait and spell damage enchants, and for our weapons, we're using dual daggers on our front bar. For our main hand, we're going with the Nirnhone trait and a fire enchant, and for our offhand dagger, we're going with the charge trait and a poison enchant. For our back bar, we're taking the Inferno Staff with the Infuse trait and a weapon damage enchant. Moving on to the sets themselves, starting with the body pieces, which are the chest, waist, hands, legs and feet. Our first choice is a trial set, and it's the Whirl of Depth set. This set is gotten from Dreadsail Reef, and on veteran difficulty you can get a perfected version, which adds extra critical chance to the set. It's a minor increase compared to the unperfected version, so it doesn't matter what version you use. The set itself gives us weapon and spell damage, minor slayer at all times, and our light attacks add a damage over time effect to our target that deals frost damage over 8 seconds. When the effect ends, a whirlpool is created under the target, doing frost damage for a further 6 seconds. Another good set to grab is the Icy Conjurer set, which can be found in the DLC dungeon Frostvault, which adds max Magicka, weapon and spell damage, as well as extra offensive penetration. Applying a minor debuff to your enemy can summon a non-reflectable ice raid that will charge an enemy and deal frost damage over 10 seconds. You can also use the Order's Wrath set, which is a crafted set from High Isle. You can also buy it from a guild vendor. This set adds a lot of critical chance, as well as weapon and spell damage, and also increases critical damage and healing by 8%. For our weapons and jewellery, we are going with the Pillar of Nirn set, which is gotten from the DLC dungeon Valkyrie Hold, which gives us max stamina, critical chance, and weapon and spell damage. And when you deal damage, you'll deal bleed damage to the target enemy and enemies near the target, and causing them to take bleed damage for 10 seconds. This effect itself can occur every 10 seconds. For our monster set, for our helm and shoulder slots, we can use the Iceheart set. The helm can be gotten from Direfrost Keep on Veteran, and the shoulders from the Undaunted vendors. This set adds critical chance, and when we deal critical damage, we have a chance to gain a damage shield that also deals frost damage to the nearby enemies. Now for the Ring of the Pale Order, which is gotten from the Antiquity system. When using this, we will heal for 20% of all the damage we do. We can't be healed by anyone but ourselves, and the healing we do does increase when we're in groups. The ring will take up a ring slot obviously, so we'll need to wear our jewellery set on either our shoulder or our helm. The slot doesn't matter. We will lose our 2 set bonus from our monster set, but the Pale Order ring makes up for it. You can go with Slime Craw, which is gotten from Veteran Wayrest Sewers 1, for the 1 piece bonus, which is extra critical damage. Or you could also use the Magma Karmat set. The head is found in the Dreadseller DLC dungeon on Veteran, and the shoulder from an Undaunted vendor. Magma Incarnate's 1 set bonus will give us Magicka and stamina recovery. Lastly is the Maelstrom Inferno Staff, which is gotten from Maelstrom Arena, and we'll be using this in our back bar. There's a perfected version from Veteran difficulty, which adds extra offensive penetration. Doesn't matter which version we use, as we are more interested in the base effect, which increases the damage of our Wall of Elements. That covers the gear, and now it's time for the skills, starting with the front bar. First skill up is Dark Shade, morphed from Shade and found in the Shadow skill line. You'll summon a Shade version of yourself for 22 seconds that does single target and AoE magic damage. The Shade's attack all inflict minor maim. The Shade's attacks also inflict minor maim. We are also using Barb Trap, morphed from Trap Beast and can be found in the Fighter's Guild skill line. The trap deals bleed damage and causes the enemy to bleed for 20 seconds and grants you minor force, and it can also immobilize enemies for 2 seconds as well. Next up is Swallow Soul, morphed from Strife and found in the Shadow skill line. This will deal magic damage and heal you for 38% of the damage done for 10 seconds. We are also using Merciless Resolve, morphed from Grim Focus and found in the Assassination skill line. This causes our weapon and spell damage to increase by 60 with every light and heavy attack up to 5 times. And while active, and you hit 5 stacks, this ability converts to Assassin's Will, allowing you to fire a spectral arrow at half cost that deals a lot of magic damage and heals for 50% of the damage you do if you are within melee range. Next is Siphoning attacks, morphed from Siphoning Strikes and found in the Siphoning skill line. This will cause your light and heavy attacks to heal us and restore Magicka. Will also restore a lot more Magicka when the effect ends. And finally, for the ultimate on our back bar, we are using Soul Harvest, morphed from Deathstroke, found in the Assassination skill line. You'll deal a large amount of magic damage against a target and increase your magic damage against them by 20% for 6 seconds. It also inflicts Major Defile, and while slotted, any enemy you kill will cause you to gain 10 ultimate. That covers our front bar, so naturally next up is the back bar, starting with Unstable Wall of Fire, morphed from Wall of Elements and found in the Destruction Staff skill line. This will create a line of fire in front of you for 10 seconds, dealing flame damage to enemies standing in it. When the skill ends, the Wall of Fire explodes, dealing more flame damage. If you're using the Maelstrom Staff, this effect will be stronger. We are also using Razor Caltrops, morphed from Caltrops and found in the Assault skill line. This will create an AoE that does physical damage to targets standing inside and slowing their movement speed. Enemies that take damage this way have Major Breach applied to them. Next is Crippling Grasp, morphed from Cripple and found in the Siphoning skill line. This will deal magic damage to a target and an additional amount of magic damage over 20 seconds, and it also immobilizes them for 2 seconds and reduces their movement speed for 4 seconds. Our next skill is Dampen Magic, morphed from Annulment and found in the Light Armor skill line. This requires you to be wearing at least 5 light armor pieces to use, and it will convert a portion of your Magicka into a shield that lasts for 6 seconds. Each light armor piece worn increases the amount absorbed by 6%. We are also using Twisting Path, morphed from Path of Darkness and found in the Shadow skill line. You'll create a corridor of shadow for 12 seconds, granting you and your allies major expedition, and deals magic damage to enemies in the target area every second. And finally, for the ultimate on our back bar, we're using Soul Feather, morphed from Soul Shred and found in the Siphoning skill line. This will deal magic damage to enemies nearby, and it will also heal you. Enemies are then tethered to you for 8 seconds, and while close by, you will siphon health from them, healing yourself and damaging them. An ally can also use the Soul Leech synergy, dealing magic damage and healing as well. Now, that covers the skills, so let's quickly go over the passives, starting with our class passives. First up is the Assassination skill line. We want everything in here, so grab Master Assassin, Executioner, Pressure Points, and Hemorrhage. In the Shadow skill line, we'll take everything as well, so grab Refreshing Shadow, Shadow Barrier, Dark Vigor, and Dark Veil. In the Siphoning skill line, like the rest, we'll be taking everything, including Catalyst, Magicka Flood, Soul Siphoner, and Transfer. We are using Dual Daggers, so we'll take everything in the Dual Wield skill line. These are Slaughter, Dual Wield Expert, Control Fury, Ruffian, Twin Blade, and Blunt. We are using Destruction Staff, so we'll take everything in the Destruction Staff skill line. These are Trifocus, Penetrating Magic, Elemental Force, Ancient Knowledge, and Destruction Expert. We are wearing Light Armor, so we'll take everything in the Light Armor skill line too, which are Grace, Evocation, Spell Warding, Prodigy, and Concentration. And we'll also be grabbing everything in the Medium Armor skill line, so we'll take everything in here. This includes Dexterity, Windwalker, Improved Sneak, and Agility and Athletics. Next up is the Fighter's Guild skill line. In here we'll be taking Slayer, Banish the Wicked, and Skill Tracker. And in the Undaunted passes we'll be taking Undaunted Command and Undaunted Metal. This next one is optional and can be found in the Assault skill line, and it is Continuous Attack. We only need 1 point in this to get Major Gallop. We get nothing extra for adding a second point unless you do plan on doing PvP or something like that. Moving on to the racial passives, these are specific to your race, so you will need to grab everything as well as have a very good read over them just so you understand what passives your race gives, such as the benefits and the advantages and all that. So grab everything and know what you're grabbing. And lastly, one more optional passive, which I would class as necessary, and it's Medicinal Use, which is found in the Alchemy skill line. This causes our potions to last much longer and makes potions outlast their cooldown, so you can always have a potion active. And that covers the passives, so now we're going to go quickly over the champion point solubles, starting with the Warfare tree. In here, we want to take Wrathful Strikes to increase our weapon and spell damage. We want to take Fighting Finesse to increase our critical damage and critical healing. We want to take Deadly Aim to increase our damage done with single target attacks. And we want Thaumaturge to increase our damage done with damage over time effects. In the Fitness Tree skill line, we want to take Boundless Vitality to increase our max health. We want to take Fortified to increase our armor, Rejuvenation to increase our sustain. We also want to take Siphoning Spells just so we get back extra magicka when we kill an enemy. And over in the craft skill line, it doesn't really matter what you take in here. Everything is very situational, but for myself when doing solo content, I like to take the Treasure Hunter skill line to increase the quality of items I find in treasure chests. I like to take Ration Ear to add extra duration to my food. I like to take Liquid Efficiency as well, just so I can have a slight chance not to consume an actual potion or poison when I use it. And I also like to take Steed's Blessing just to increase my out of combat movement speed, just to make things a little bit easier when I'm getting around a map while soloing, essentially. But that is everything for the Champion Points Audibles, and it's everything for the Crimson Veil build. I hope it was somewhat useful to you or helped you out with your own builds. And if it did, why not like and subscribe? If you have any thoughts, suggestions, or just want to have a chat, why not comment below? You can also come chat to me in real time over on Twitch at twitch.tv/dyinglegacy. We play a lot of MMOs over there, such as Final Fantasy XIV, Guild Wars 2, Lost Ark, ESO, and so on, so on, so on. We play MMOs. So why not pop in and have a chat to me? But anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. You've been fantastic. I've been Dying Legacy, and until next time, stay awesome.